All right, good morning everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Jane Virgo and I'm part of the LGA Procurement team. It's lovely to have you along. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I will mute you all just for a quieter experience of this webinar. If you do think of questions during the webinar, feel free to pop them in the chat option of Zoom and we will get to them. We do have a question and answer section at the end. So I'm just going to mute you all, if you don't mind. Great. Thanks for joining us for the traffic signal maintenance today. We're really pleased to have you along. Before we go any further, I do need to let you know that we're recording this session and we will make it available on our members only page of our website from next week. If you're not a member of the LGA website, it is available for all council employees. And you just need to go to our website, top right hand corner, there's a login button. Click on that and you'll have an option to request a login. And once you receive that, you will be able to see certain pages that we've hidden, and one of those will be this webinar. Given that we are recording it, I just want to leave on the screen for you for a few seconds to have a read of our confidentiality statement. Hopefully that's enough time for you to have a view of it. So today's agenda is that both myself and Martin Borges, Operations Manager, LGA Procurement, will have a brief chat with you, and then we'll be handing over to Sage Automation to present to you the content of the traffic signal maintenance solution we have. Before I hand to Martin, I just wanted to quickly share with you some information about how our panels can help you in council. We're aware of the time pressures and also the unusual year that we're all facing. And so I wanted to give you a brief introduction to our website and how you can navigate that. LGA Procurement have 30 panels set up for councils to use. And what that means is significant time saving for all of you. The suppliers on these panels have already gone through an open tender process, which means that you don't have to. So I just wanted to give you a brief introduction to our website and how it works. Given that we're discussing council assets today in the way of traffic, I thought we could pretend we're looking for a supplier who can help you with an asset management plan. So on the screen in front of you, you'll see a screenshot of our website. We have one of our panels is professional services. So I'm just going to take you to that web page now and show you how you can find a supplier quite easily and how you can procure through us. Hopefully my internet is quicker than what it's looking like now and will connect us, maybe. See if I can do it a different way. Let's do it a different way for you. So just pop something in the chat if you're having trouble viewing this. I do usually have very good internet. So our website here, we have a contracts page. All our contracts are shown, as I mentioned, 30 contracts. For the purpose of this demonstration, because we're looking at traffic assets, pretending to look for an asset management plan, we have a professional services panel here. On the website page, we provide you with a matrix. This is an Excel spreadsheet which divides up the categories available under this supply and also where they are. So sometimes we hear concerns about we're in a regional council, perhaps we're not covered. We absolutely have you covered. And what I want to demonstrate to you today is how to find a supplier where you are. So you would click on this category matrix. Let's see if it's any quicker. It opens up an Excel spreadsheet. All the supplier categories are listed here. We're going to select asset data And you can see in column A, we've got a list of suppliers. Column B, whole of state. So we always ask our suppliers, are they willing to go across the whole of South Australia, or is it regional? So you can have a look at that.
Sorry, Jane, we're still on the one screen for the key.
Oh, which one are you on?
Yeah, key contract. Cool.
Oh, that's a shame. All right, let's try it again. Well, it's usually much quicker. Apologies for that, everyone. I hope you can see table of contents in Excel spreadsheet now. So we've got all our suppliers listed here under categories. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're looking at asset data collect and manage, which will give you a list of suppliers who have been vetted by us to give you great value. You can have a look at filtering through across the whole state. You can have a look at whether they're regional only, and then using the Excel spreadsheet, tab across to look at all the different sort of styles of work they provide under that category. On our website, which I'm going to have to stop share and go back to, I'm sorry about that, it's never done this to me before, but hopefully you can bear with me. Back on that website that I showed you before here under key contract information, we do then explain how to procure. So once you find a supplier that meets all your needs, you can have a look at the method, which in this case is vendor panel. Something that some people aren't aware of, LGA Procurement provide free vendor panel training. It's online, one-on-one or with your team. So if you haven't looked at vendor panel for a while, or perhaps you haven't looked at it at all, please contact us. We're more than happy to help you with that. Hopefully that brief introduction, although it was a bit stop-start, I apologise, has helped you to see how useful our website can be in terms of finding a supplier for you in your area. Let's go back to the presentation. And I'd like to introduce Martin Borges, Operations Manager, LGA Procurement, who's going to talk to you about this traffic signal maintenance solution we have for you. Thanks, Martin.
Cool, thanks Jane, and yeah, welcome everybody. On behalf of our CEO Andrew Haste and the rest of the team, it's great to see so many people online with us this morning. Look, I probably just speak a little bit more about some of Jane's comments around how our preferred supplier panels are constructed. So Jane mentioned before that it's an open tender process, so this goes out to the open market and we invite people to respond and companies to respond to our specification. That's generally generated after consultation with some stakeholders both in the sector and also the commercial side of things as well. And part of our assessment that I think is really important to highlight in this particular instance is that one of the key things that we look for is that moral and ethical alignment and commitment from our supplier partners to supporting councils to be able to deliver outcomes for their communities. So in this instance, this opportunity was highlighted to us by Sage Automation, who are one of our suppliers on our preferred panels. And as the current holders of the maintenance contract with DIPTI, they flagged with us that this was in fact coming to an end in the latter quarter of this, latter half of this year, and highlighting the opportunity of their ability to continue to support you guys in the sector in maintaining and developing these assets as well. So I think that's just a really great example of suppliers actually looking out for the best interests of councils and also opportunities to be able to support councils in delivering these services. And just a really great alignment with our expectations as far as our supplier partners go. So without labouring on that, I'll hand over to the Sage team. It's great to see so many of you guys present. Thank you for developing this opportunity for the sector, and we're really keen to hear how that's going to play out and what the opportunities are for councils to engage.
Thanks, Martin. So can everyone hear us okay, and can you see the screen okay now?
Yes, hearing and seeing.
Thank you. So obviously we appreciate the LGA giving us this opportunity to talk to the local government groups. The importance for us was when we were looking at this package of work is how do we actually put this out to market and make sure that it's going to be a cost-effective way of doing it. And effectively what we're trying to get out of this from the webinar is to make sure there's some level of alignment from councils that if there's enough opportunity between the councils for this maintenance offering, that we can amortise the costs very similar to what the existing solution was for DIPTI. So essentially our presentation is going to be talking about what the current solution was and what our offering is. My name's Damien Hewitt. I'm the General Manager for Transport at Sage. So I set the strategic vision and do all of the transport and smart city solutions across Australia. I'm going to introduce you to Dave Cheney, who looks after TCS, part of the Sage Group business.
G'day, I'm Dave. So I've been the owner and general manager of TCS for the last 25 years. Sage purchased it as in January. And for the last 22 years, we've been doing the general maintenance for DIPTI uninterrupted. And that has recently ended with the way they're moving forward in the outsourcing of that contract.
Thanks, Dave. Look, I think most of you know me. My name's Kingsley Noble, and I used to work for DIPTI for over 40 years. My role within DIPTI was the maintenance manager for traffic signals and road lighting right across the state. So I'm very familiar with what you've got out there and what needs to be done for maintenance, breakdowns and repairs.
And yeah, g'day everyone. My name's Alan Ford. I'm a senior systems engineer at Sage. Been here for coming up to 17 odd years now, and yeah, working predominantly solely in the transport space, helping to deliver a lot of the technology solutions. And we'll talk a little bit about that at the back end of the presentation today.
So what we're going to go through as part of this agenda is go through an overview of Sage and TCS. We'll go through a background of what the opportunity looks like. We'll do an explanation of what the current traffic signals solutions are in the council regions, what services are currently being maintained by DIPTI, and the details of Sage's offer to the council. And then we're also going to touch on some of the optional value adds that we offer as a business, particularly around some of the smart cities part of that scope. And then we'll open for a Q&A session at the back end. So just to quickly touch on Sage Automation. So Sage is a South Australian business. We were built out of the automotive industry. We're an independent control system integration company that's been operating for 25 years. We have offices in every state in Australia. Our manufacturing is done out of Adelaide, and we've got about 460 employees around the country, with about 190 in Adelaide. So Adelaide's certainly our home state. We are local to Adelaide, and that's a big part of our delivery. We are not just about transport. We do many other industries. We do defence, mining, food and beverage, the water sector. So we are quite a diverse business in how we operate. But today we're going to just talk to you about transport and part of that smart cities solutions. So in our transport solution, our big focus, or the work that we're doing around the country, is around major projects, around smart managed motorways, tunnel control systems and the like. So we're managing and monitoring and supporting them projects nationally. We also are associated with congestion management tools like AdInsight, which has been built out of the South Australian government, and and the traffic signal side of the business. So hence the recent acquisition of TCS back in January brings that traffic signalling expertise to Sage as a delivery model for roadside, not just in South Australia, very strong in South Australia, but we're looking to build that capability across Australia. We're also doing stuff with intermodal transport, where we're doing 7 autonomous vehicle trials, where we're really looking at how the future of connectivity and vehicle to infrastructure is going to look like in the future. Smart cities is a big strategy for us, and particularly working with some really great councils in South Australia, like Marion and Charleston and Unley and the likes, where we've been rolling out some smart city solutions, particularly around LoRaWAN and IoT enabling, dashboards, smart kiosks is what we've been doing. But today it's probably more around our asset operations. We have 24/7 service technicians that are available in each state that service a lot of our larger clients. We've got a centralised national operations centre, which we can manage and monitor devices and get into tunnel control systems, bridges, airports we manage from our operations centre, and also maintenance contracts. So a big part of the maintenance contracts that we're talking about today is around how we can actually transfer what we've been doing from a road authority, government type maintenance contracts down to local government. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So to quickly just introduce the relationship of Sage and TCS. So as I said, this was formed back in January. TCS, with Dave, who's here in the presentation, has been running and operating TCS for many years. And for us, TCS is operating business as usual, which includes some of the maintenance activities that happens at the traffic intersections and the maintenance activities that have been happening in your council regions that have been performed on behalf of DIPTI. So the background of the opportunity, and some of you may or may not be aware, but DIPTI have written to the councils to notify them that the current maintenance support that's been done by DIPTI is going to cease as of the 1st of November. And that includes around the traffic signals, the pedestrian crossings, school crossings and wombat crossings. So a big part of what we've been delivering for DIPTI and supporting across the country is what we're trying to have a conversation around today is around how we can support that opportunity for local councils. So I'm going to just pass over to Kingsley to just quickly talk through the types of intersections and that we're looking to propose.
Yeah, thanks, Damon. Look, as you can see, there's 4 types of traditional signal installations in South Australia. The first one's the traffic signals, which is used for getting vehicular traffic, pedestrians and cyclists safely around the intersection and across it. The second type is a school crossing, which is a part-time school crossing. They operate 2 or 3 times a day, and as soon as someone, when they're operating, as soon as someone steps on the pavement, the cars stop and the children are safe to go to school. The pedestrian crossings, as you know, they operate 24/7. They're activated by someone pressing the button, and then of course when you get the Walkman, you can walk across. Wombat crossings, there's a number of those in a few councils. They operate 24/7, and like similar to a school crossing, as soon as you set on the pavement to walk across, the cars stop and the cyclists and pedestrians can walk across safely. So we're very familiar with what's out in the field, and especially in your council areas. So what DIPTI previously, well, still does until the 1st of November, they've been providing 6 monthly roofing service, globe replacements as required. They've been doing fault responses if a push button's locked on, someone's vandalised your site, someone's trashed it, or most commonly an accident, which happens quite regularly. We get a pole knocked over, or we could have a controller, as you can see on the right. We've got we've got a workshop in Adelaide with all the spares. We can reinstate those poles, reinstate those controllers in a timely manner. So now that we know that's what DIPTI is offering, we're offering the same service, but probably more enhanced for you guys. What we're providing, we're going to do a full operational check of all equipment to make sure all the functionality works properly. It's most important, not just to go and look at the controls, yeah, it looks like it's working, but to make sure the functionality on what it should be doing is working as designed. So we offer that service to do that and make sure all the displays are correct and it's operating to the plan. We also check all the equipment for completeness. We make sure that everything on that pole is intact, facing the right way, is secure, and will last the next 6 months. We also are going to add, we're going to report to you asset conditioning, which has been a bit of a gap between what DIPTI do and what the council really requires. We want to report to you on how your asset's going, what condition it's in, how long maybe you need to start budgeting in the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year to start budgeting to replace these items. Because we know that a traffic signal lantern will only last 10 to 15 years. A controller's probably only got a life of 10 to 15 years. So we wanted to do this asset conditioning budgeting for you and give you some guidance to plan for the future. We also will be cleaning your lanterns. That's the most important job, to make sure the lanterns are cleaned once a year to make sure they meet the Australian standards for brightness. Oops, wrong way.
So obviously part of that is also around what we terminologise as per event support. So in the event of fault response, you know, if there's a failure or a call out, we have our 24/7 support. So we've got our Salesforce software that enables us to know where our technicians are, and we can put all that database in to be able to support remotely and get to as you need. I also touched on that we've got our operations centre that you'll see up in the right hand side, that we can actually be monitoring and supporting these assets remotely, so we know when the faults are occurring. Like Kingsley touched on, we have a fully equipped workshop with these spare parts ready to go to be able to be deployed. We're also available to be able to support accidental damage repairs, the school crossing controller support with timer upgrade. So each calendar year, the crossing timers need to be upgraded. The graffiti removal and responsible for the disposal of any of the obsolete equipment. So that's really core to our offering, is around the standard routine maintenance, and then what the per event support looks like at the back end. So really the details of our offer have been around, and the commercial model that we've been looking to offer has been, and this is where we see a strong partnership with the LGA in creating this commercial model, because for us it comes down to how can we amortize these costs across multiple cancels. So we're in a very strong position that we understand. On the right hand side, you see this is an example of what the cancel assets currently look like, or a cancel's assets look like. So we understand that, and we can, what we're planning on doing is working with the LGA on the interest of the cancel, so that we can amortize this the cost across the entire cancel group, and put an offering on the table around that. So what we'd be looking to do is, once we understand the interest and how we can amortize that cost, is then put in specific proposals to each cancel based on their assets. And it might be that the current assets that DIPTI we're looking after, that there might be other opportunities around other assets, maybe smart cities type assets like wayfinding screens or other technologies that you might be able to looking to tie in. That allows us to help reduce the cost by amortizing it across more assets in the way that we work. But essentially what we're trying to do is offer the same service at the same pricing structure. So that's why it's important for us to be able to engage through the LGA and make sure that we've got enough cancels on board to enjoy the services that we're proposing to offer. And ideally what we're looking for is to do this across a long-term contract. A long-term contract enables us to put the systems in place and the processes to improve the services for a long period of time to the cancels. So that really covers off on our offering. What we're also looking to just talk about is what value adds does Sage and TCS offer outside of that traditional maintenance. So there's a whole lot of stuff that is in our core business that's in our strength. So installation of new traffic signals and road lights, upgrades to existing school crossings. And I'll touch on it a bit later about how we're looking to introduce intelligent crossings, lighting and traffic signal pole upgrades. TCS does a lot of the loop cutting for all the loops that sit at the intersections and the likes. Modification to existing traffic signals. We can be doing the personality changes, and we can do the full turnkey for a project. The picture that we see on the right there is of Panatalinga intersection, where we've actually integrated in-pavement lighting to the traffic signals, so that the intersection lights up, particularly for bad weather conditions and the like, so you can actually know your lane and reduce safety incidents or accidents that are occurring at intersections. So that's the type of innovations that we can bring and offer to the solution. As far as the smart city side goes, and I don't want to touch on this too much, but we have strong smart cities experience. We're part of the Smart City Council, and we're rolling out a lot of initiatives that sort of tie into the mobility and the future of mobility and transport needs. And I just wanted to quickly touch on that so you can understand what we see, and the importance of a maintenance contract like this is not just that we can maintain the current assets, but we can also maintain what the future of technology looks like moving on. And so I'm just going to quickly just show some of them examples. This is an example that we've done with the Charles Sturt Council, where we've put in intelligent school crossings, where we've got a bollard that detects where the people movements are within the school crossing zone. And we've got a solar panel solution that has the radar that detects the vehicle speed on approach, and then we flag that via a message sign to tell people that they're travelling too quickly and that they're creating a dangerous environment because there's people in there. But essentially, what the power of this is more the analytics and the data that comes through it. We can see all of the speeds, we can see how the signs are interacting to the vehicles and is it making improvement, and how we can actually reduce safety. So a good example of this is already we can see some cars well and truly going over the speed limit at certain periods of the day, and so it gives the opportunity for council to be efficient in how they can create safer zones. We're also part of the Ad Insight system, which is a DIPTY system that has been built from the South Australian government and sold to every road authority in Australia. Essentially, our devices sit within the traffic signal controllers and are capturing Bluetooth and Wi-Fi MAC addresses to do travel time on the full arterial road networks. This is a significant advantage for councils to actually pull in real-time data sets on abnormal travel delays, and also understand how movements are happening within their council region. It also has an app which is national, and we are actually tying this back to school crossings now, so that we can actually message warnings to the motorists when school zones are active and the like, so that they get a clear message via that app. And that app is going nationally around the country. We're also doing stuff with pedestrian movements as well. So this also ties into the concept of how these devices sit and live within these assets. So this is an example of what we've done for the McLaren Vale Wine and Tourism Association. These devices are sitting at the wineries and detecting how the people are moving in and around the region, and tying back to algorithms so they know how many people are going to be moving in certain directions at certain times between that, so they can create an economic benefit within the wineries. And then finally, the future of connectivity really is about how we get the vehicle to infrastructure communications working, and that's a big part of what we're doing on our journey. So we're at a space now where we're trialling and testing solutions where we can tell the vehicle to lower its speed. So we know that the councils are really looking at how can they reduce speed to create more safer impact in and around their council zones. And so by reducing speeds and being able to talk to the vehicle to guarantee them a green light, so if we can say maintain 32 kilometres and you'll get a green light, that allows for the public to reduce speed, create safer environments, get more throughput. It allows you to get more reduce carbon emissions and have more fuel efficiency in the vehicle. So there's a whole lot of technology that's coming that's really exciting, and certainly that's the space that we're playing in. So that's all we've got. So really what we'd like to do is open it up for a Q&A and get any of the questions out there that you're thinking, and how you feel this type of contract would support you as a council. Is there any in the chat box?
Yeah, I think Jane can facilitate this side of things. Yeah.
Jane, are you okay to facilitate it from here?
Sure can. There's no questions in the chat box yet, but we'll just allow people to unmute themselves and ask a question. So are there any questions from participants today? I think you've covered it really well, guys. Fantastic presentation with your comprehensive offering.
Perhaps if I can just add one. There's 5 councils in the country, and they're probably wondering how they'll be supported. We're going to use the existing electrical contractors that are in those local cities and local council areas to support us. I've already been in contact with them. So your council support would be just similar to the city support, and they will all be backed up from help 24/7 from Adelaide.
Fantastic.
Yes, if I can just say, can you hear me? It's Cherie here from Port Augusta.
Yeah,
Hi, Cherie. Yep.
Hi. Yes. Obviously, I've already had some discussions with Kingsley around this, so it was more about just confirming this would be something that would be looked to spread across all local government areas. Is that correct? So it would require some buy-in from each affected area?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Cherie. So really, and I think this is where the power of the LGA come in, is that the opportunity of actually tying this across multiple council zones allows us to make it more cost efficient. So instead of us going to each individual council and trying to create a solution, we can do that for all the council zones. And so that's why we thought that the best way to do that would be to have a webinar and understand the interest in doing that, because we think that's the best way to create an economic solution.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for confirming that. Thank you.
I've got a question in the chat from Keith Barber, who currently has the data regarding traffic lights and school crossing light assets, what exists in the councils currently maintained by DIPTI?
Yeah, so great question. So DIPTI have the SCAT systems and the systems that are running the traffic controllers and the crossings and the like, and all that data would remain as it is with DIPTI. Unless that would have to be some level of negotiation between the local government and DIPTI in the future. Sage doesn't want to own the data. That's not what Sage wants to do. Sage wants to support the councils in getting the data so that they can make real-time decisions. But we wouldn't be looking to own the data that's coming from the traffic or any of them crossings. That's not what we're trying to do.
Great. Any other questions? Feel free to jump in, guys.
Hi guys, if I could just jump in there. My name's Carmen D'Amico. I'm the Transport Coordinator at Chatsworth Council. We did a fair bit of work to our traffic controls over the last kind of 6 years. TCS did some work with us, and Gridlock have done some work too. And Sage have done some good stuff in recent years with traffic controls. The question that I had, and I've also asked DIPTI but haven't had a response, is basically when faults are reported using the telephone number on the signal controller, will that go back to DIPTI's kind of central, point of call? And have you guys had any information on that, or have you heard nothing about it? It's just a question that I'm trying to find an answer to.
Yeah, no, it's Kingsley here. No, it's a good question. Yeah, what happens is DIPTI, it will all still go back to DIPTI. The number will go back to DIPTI, and they'll ring. DIPTI in their database will dial up the site, which might be, say, school crossing or pedestrian crossing, whatever it is, dial it up, and straight away they'll see, oh, that's a council site, and that's maintained by which contractor. So they're doing that at the moment because all the country stuff is all done by contract. Adelaide City Council is done by contract. It's all done by different people. So in their database, as soon as they put your ID in for that pedestrian crossing number, it tells who the person to ring to go fix the pole down or wherever it is. So that'll stay the same. What we do then is they then email out the fault to the contractor to fix, or phone if it's an emergency to be attended after hours. They'll email out. So we'd set up so that the asset manager of the council also gets an email to say, last night at 5 p.m. you got a pole knocked down. You'd actually know that too straight away.
Yeah, thanks. What if DIPTI, so currently for most Metro Adelaide, DIPTI are undertaking the maintenance themselves, and then they just kind of send the council a bill. I would assume DIPTI would just notify council first if there's no contractor associated with it. Have you heard anything about that, or not?
If there's no, so DIPTI won't be doing any of the maintenance any further. So that the responsibility would be that that contact would need to go to either someone like a Sage or to the council to deal with.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense then. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't be receiving any more bills from DIPTI from the 1st of November.
Yeah.
So in terms of workflow, it sounds like the solution that Sage are offering is that the email will be generated from DIPTI to Sage, if that's the contract the council chooses, and then the council will be notified of the maintenance. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. And we could tailor it different if a council preferred it differently. We could tailor it to a number that come direct to Sage if required, but our preferred would probably be leave it as a universal system and process back to DIPTI, but we can negotiate that with each individual council if they want to do something different.
Fantastic. Got a question from Richard. Will the costs be determined on service rate per asset and then costed per asset type in each council area?
Yeah, that's right, Richard. So a big part of the way that we amortise the cost is by identifying the quantity of assets that we're going to be working in, the time that it's going to take to service each asset. So that's how we're currently looking at putting that cost. We're looking to really simplify it and not do it too much differently to what you've done. It would probably be a basic cost per asset. And so we're not looking to make, we're looking to do everything we can to make sure that the costing is very, very similar or exactly the same as what the current DIPTI pricing is.
Fantastic. And Adnan has also said, what is the lowest level of service and time frame required to engage with Sage Automation?
Good question, but I mean, ultimately, as of the 1st of November, we're going to need to put in action the maintenance programs and get the systems ready to go between each council. So we need to work pretty quickly between now and then to make sure that we've got that in place so that we're ready from the 1st of November to be able to continue that maintenance. Or if any faults or breakdowns occur, you've got that service available to you. So I think that I don't have a minimum time right now. I think that's something that we can maybe tailor back to you through as an RFI back to you guys so you understand. But certainly, I think putting this solution together quicker enables us to get that service operating as per the 1st of November.
Yeah, that's great. Any other questions, everyone? That's a really good start, I think, in terms of, you're right, Alan, the time frame is really crucial here. From LGA Procurement section, we will update our website with a Q&A page based on this presentation. And as I said at the beginning, we'll upload the webinar. In terms of questions from emails, we're happy to triage those questions for councils. You can email LGA Procurement or, of course, contact Sage Automation directly. Any other questions before we end the session?
I think there's a couple in the chat.
I think I've read them all. Oh no, you're right. What's happening with the maintenance in the meantime? Thanks.
Well, in the meantime, up till 1st of November, it's currently being done by DIPTI. So them services will remain as normal until the 1st of November. After that, then there won't be any further support from DIPTI in maintaining them assets. And so we are aware of some councils that may have missed the notification from DIPTI on that. So that's also an important part, is for us to get out there and just let councils know that that this is a service that's going to be redundant as of the 1st of November.
Mm. And just going back to that cost structure, I know we talked about simplifying the cost structure for councils. Adnan's asked, when will the costing be provided to councils? Is this after the equipment list is provided to you?
Yeah, so I guess the next steps for us is to work with the LGA and the councils that are interested, so that we've got an understanding of all of the assets. We have a list of all the assets that are currently being maintained by DIPTI. So we've got that asset list, and so what we need to do is work with the LGA, identify the councils that are interested in this as an offering, and then what we'll do is we'll put that offering on the table to them each individual council. So it'll be the same rate for each council for their quantity of assets. And so we're looking to do that as quickly as possible. And then that means that that price will be amortized across that council group. And we'll be trying to put that in for a longer term contract so that we can get that pricing down to a very low level. And any groups that are in that initial costing structure will enjoy that service from November 1st.
I've just got one question.
Go.
Yeah, you can hear me? Oh, all good. Okay. So I just want to know, so if we are, just say a council is interested in signing on to this, or signing up with Sage, just want to clarify, do we are we meant to talk to LGA, and is LGA going to organise that for us, or do we just contact Sage directly?
I think in the first instance, it's going to be a joint working through with the LGA.
Okay.
So I think what we'll do is we'll sit down with the LGA and work out the next letter or the next response after this, so that you've got a clear understanding of how we're going to work through that as a point of contact.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Cool. So just on that, Edward, so like I said before, Sage are already engaged under a head agreement with us, so they're already contracted under one of our preferred supplier arrangements. So that makes the route to market for councils a whole heap simpler, in that it can be as simple as here's the outcomes that we need to achieve, like the number of assets we've got to manage, here's the costing, and be able to engage in a really low level letter of engagement, as opposed to having to renegotiate full contractual terms, because that's already been done. So I guess in the first instance, I guess the best outcome would be for councils to be able to nominate with LGA Procurement that are interested in proceeding down this path for a costing point of view. Then Sage can be, we can share that information with Sage, and they can get some individual pricing and proposals out to you guys. But knowing full well that all of those agreements come under the security and safety of that head agreement that we already currently hold with Sage. So that's I guess the level of comfort and the quicker route to engagement that we can offer through our contracts as well. The other thing that I might just highlight too, as well, I've got everyone's attention, is that I can see a few familiar names there that have engaged with LGA Procurement on some previous projects. But I guess really don't forget that we've got a whole team here ready to support councils in their activities, whether that's a simple phone call for some advice, or consultancy is a big part of our business as well. So if there's projects that you simply don't have the time or the resources to do, we're more than happy on a consultancy basis to actually lead those projects on your behalf to get some really cool outcomes. And we do, I think we did nearly 120 different consultancy projects for councils last financial year. So it is a big part of our business. We are able to deliver some really cool outcomes for councils, and there's been some massive cost savings in some of those consultancies as well. So whether it's the conversations around the smart cities, whether it's the civil bitumen or different traffic management opportunities, we've got a team here that are more than capable to help you guys kick some real big goals for your communities.
Thanks for that.
That's great. We've got a couple more questions in the chat. Back to admin again. Thanks for your contribution. So in regards to cost, can you please let us know when the costing will be provided to us? I asked that before. Can Sage provide the asset list to councils and approximate cost to maintain these assets? So I think before, Alan, you were talking about the information you've got from DIPTI. Is that available to councils?
We'd love to share that with the council. So if you want to flag to us what other assets that we understand that you've got, we'd love to share that information with you. And we're available to talk about what the approximate cost structure looks like. But certainly that's going to be a bit of work in progress, depending on how many councils are interested in the offer. Because if we can optimise it across a majority of councils, then that cost is going to be significantly less. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And Carmen asks, in regards to asset list, DIPTI provided that info to all councils a few years ago. If a council doesn't have that information, DIPTI can provide it. Hope that helps. So more of a comment than anything, but I guess we've kind of covered that with what Alan has said, that the information is available. Absolutely.
And we're more than happy to share that. There's no issues from our side.
Great.
Or you can go to DIPTI, that's okay too.
And yes, there's a question about the PowerPoint after the meeting. So this webinar, as I said, is being recorded. So we'll make that available on our website for everyone. So I think there's probably some workflow process information that we'll send out in the next little while in conjunction with Sage, and help councils understand what the next steps are available to them with this solution. And that'll be available from next week on our website. And I'll be in contact via email with everyone that's attended this webinar as well, so that you've got some contact information to follow through from. Are we covered from Sage's end today?
Yeah, thanks, Jane, and thanks, Martin. I really appreciate you facilitating this. It's a good outcome for us. Thanks.
Yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks, guys. And Martin's just popped in the chat the email address that I was remiss to announce, procurementquestions@lga.sa.gov.au. Thanks everyone, and this will be up on the website next week. Have a great day everyone.
I'll see you, bye.